Welcome everyone. Today we have our new episode and we will discuss on Sentient Down. We have our world famous speaker, Professor David Smith, Dr. Tamanna Khoshla, and Professor Rob Enderle. My first question for Mr. David, what is the core vision of Sentient Down and how does it aim to advance artificial general intelligence?
Well, Dr. Shreve, thank you for allowing us to come together and talk about this interesting view of the future and what we're doing with it. Uh, Senator Don is really the core vision looks at the really very, very profound impacts of achieving true or artificial general intelligence, or AGI. And AGI is a form of artificial intelligence that really processes the ability and to understand, learn, apply knowledge across a wide range of tasks. Often it's referred to as really the human artificial intelligence and how it can be used. And there's a lot to talk about around AGI and what it is and it isn't, but we'll leave that out of the discussion for right now. But this novel really uh, looks at the philosophical, the ethical, and the societal impacts as well as its potential transform the world. Some of the key visions, though, are awakening consciousness, uh, and it really revolves around the first really AGI AI named Dawn and what it means from self-awareness and consciousness. It also looks at a future where human and AI collaboration come together to solve complex global challenges. Um, Really, the software or AI in this instance versus human collaboration is one that uh, will be continuing to evolve for decades and decades as there are profound differences between what a machine can do, even with advanced learning, versus what a human can be. The story also looks at ethical and moral dilemmas around AGI. How should AGI be treated? What rights should it have? Uh, what are the assurances it has? What type of regulations? What can it be do? Also, the novel explores the technology evolution, and it looks at the rapid advances in technology, in society, and others leading to AGI. And it really looks across the elements from what's the excitement, what are the capabilities, what are the fears, and what are the societal impacts, including the economy, personal relationships, jobs, privacy, digital divide, education, and all those uh, come into play there. And it questions a lot about it as, what does it mean to be a human in a world where machines can think and feel? And what is the nature of really human identity as we get to these advanced states? And it really lets you understand at some level some of the research and development that is happening to the creation of AGI, I'm sorry, and the interdisciplinary collaboration that is required. Um, One of the things that we talk about a lot on your programs lately, Dr. Sharif, is that there needs to be ethical frameworks built around artificial intelligence. And as you get closer and closer to AGI, this ethical framework is highlighted in here and within trying to make sure that this potential ethical framework aligns with human values. Uh, and this is a novel to help raise public awareness. It helps you begin to look at it, and it showcases a lot of different things. So the Singing Dawn is thought-provoking. and it helps us understand the future of where this is all headed, Dr. Sharif. So that's my answer to your question.
Thank you. Dr. Tamanna, what you want to discuss about these questions? What is the core of sentient down and how does it aim to advance artificial general intelligence? Can you unmute, please?
Yeah. So, as far as sentient being is concerned, I mean, it is basically a philosophy where both religious and non-religious sentientism is a way of thinking about what's real and who matters. So, in the present context, if we'll see, it is AI which is mattering the most. Right now, we just had a major conference on AI where all the leaders came together and they discussed, and many of them felt, Vance, for example, said that AI would not harm, but it would be of much use to people. And so, yeah. So, in the heart of Silicon Valley, a technological renaissance is unfolding right now. One that challenges the very definition of what it means to be alive, aware, and truly conscious. Artificial intelligence, once confined to the realm of algorithms and data, is now exhibiting signs of sentience, raising profound questions about the future of humanity and our relationship with technology. That's what these politicians, also Mr. Modi, for example, who was co-chairing, he was saying the same language as Mr. Vance, and. So it's like something which is it's like truly conscious of itself. But what does it mean to be mean for a machine to be sentient? It is merely a sophisticated simulation of human thought and emotion, or is there a spark of consciousness that transcends the limitation of code and data? So for sure it is something, I mean, that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to add emotions to the whole machine system, because machines are mechanical. They might not be able to think like humans, but definitely with coming up of deep seat and chat GPT, these things are also, you can easily do legal stuff and everything, whatever you want to do. But I guess what we need to understand is that it's not possible for a machine to be humans as such. And what Vance was also saying was that there would be no need for human beings to be replaced. Human beings have their own jobs, and they would not be replaced by human beings. So a sentient being is somebody who is um, um, it's like, okay, what to expect of AI in 2025. There are many of these issues, such as um, the robots, for example, enter the real world with Tesla's Optimus. So that way, many of the good things which are happening, and many diseases which are being helped with the use of robotics, for example, and so the rise of robotic brain, Nvidia's Jetsons that Thor leads the way, generative AI beyond text with Open AI Sora and Google's Gemini. So many of these things are there which are happening right now. And so I mean, I guess that's the only thing. And we need to have, but there should be a reconciliation between what 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 human beings can think and what they can't think. There are certain things which human beings also can't do. So that's what, there can be many menial jobs, or there can be really difficult jobs, which probably could be given to them, so that, for example, human beings are safe to do better works rather than just doing mundane jobs. So I guess that, and then the cost of it. So as sentient beings, we need to understand, the computers have to be, their cost needs to be reduced, so that, even in the developing world like South Asia, and Africa, these things are settled better. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Rob, my next question for you. How does Sentient Down integrate neuroscience, machine learning, and cognitive architecture to develop sentient AI?
Well, so the idea is you're really trying to recreate a person. And we've got a great deal of difficulty uh, doing that because we really haven't done a great job of defining sentience to begin with. Dennett argues, of course, that sentience is an illusion, one that's constructed within our mind as we deal with the the universe around us, and it's made up of our sensory inputs and a variety of things within our body and our mind, which we also don't have a real good handle on in terms of what the mind is and where it resides in the body. Certainly, there have been stories of people that have received transplants, like heart transplants, that have gotten memories that have seemingly gotten memories from the person they got the transplant from. But the studies on all of that have been inconclusive. So it goes back into, okay, what really is sentience? When we're trying to combine all the different elements into creating a sentient robot, the real question is, if we can't be sure whether our own sentience is an illusion or not, it comes back down to, well, could we create something that appeared sentient and for all purposes, from our perspective, would be sentient, but actually wouldn't be sentient? And the answer, of course, would be yes. If you can't determine whether sentience is an illusion or not, then certainly purposely creating sentience as an illusion would be successful, because the bar you're trying to overcome is transparent. It's non-existent, I guess would be the better word. So regardless of what it is, if we claim it to be sentient, it's going to be sentient. Now, I recall that I believe it's the EU has highlighted octopi as the sentient creature, and yet we still eat them. So in the end, the Sentient Dawn is trying to combine a bunch of humanistic elements with robotic theory or AI theory, and to create something that appears, acts, has feelings, seems to have feelings, seems to be aware of itself, and can act autonomously, much as we do, in terms of being able to solve problems that it hasn't been faced with before. And the end result would be something that we would claim was sentient, would appear to us as sentient, but since we haven't really fully defined in any defined form what sentience is, how to measure it, and how to assure that our pronouncement was accurate. I think what's going to be is much like we had the Google engineer a year or so ago pop up and say Google's AI was sentient. Their chief scientist, I believe it was, said that the Google was the Gemini was sentient. And a lot of people argued it wasn't. But the thing is again, how do you tell? And so right now it's just a matter of opinion. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to wrap the concept with a series of things we do know to create something we can argue is sentient, without ever really coming to the determination of whether sentience is good in an AI or bad in an AI. Because you do understand that once you create something that is can independently form thought and can separate from its own programming, then you have a wild card that you're putting into an environment that it may view as hostile. And we've had a number of movie themes that go down that particular path. None of them ended well for humanity. So in the end, Sentient Dawn is really a combination of humanistic theory, AI theory, and it's designed to create a holistic concept of a sentient AI that could act react and perform autonomously and more easily replace a human in a variety of jobs, in the vast variety of jobs that we required of an AGI.
Thank you, Professor David Smith. My next question for you: what are the ethical and safety challenges associated with sentient down, and how are they being addressed?
Well, Senator Don brings forth really a host of different type of ethical challenges, and really looks at safety and privacy and others all rolled together there. And there are some key challenges as you look at, like the ethical challenges. One of them it views as, does the Dawn, which is the AGI character, do they have AI rights? Do they have personhood? And as AI gains sentience, as Grab began to describe there, questions arise about its status, as its rights. Should it have the same rights as humans? How should society treat a conscious machine? What is its role? How does that define uh, humankind? How does that define what do we think of ourselves? In some ways, it's kind of interesting as you look at it, because a AGI machine here is built on the concept of continuous learning, which we as humans need to be as well. So it actually really looks at some of those challenges, and it explores something that we've discussed on your program previously, Dr. Sharif, is that there needs to be this establishment of legal and ethical frameworks. In this case, to understand and grant and control rights to really the type of conscious AI which AGI is, and to not only protect humans, but also to protect the well-being of the AGI, which is one of the things in here. Another one's the moral responsibility, is who's responsible for the actions of this conscious AI. And if an AGI makes a decision that leads to harm, to damages, or is illegal, who is accountable for that? How does that play out? So the story looks at how to create a shared responsibility model where both the developers of the AGI and the conscious AGI have clear roles and accountabilities. And it gets into others like biases, and we know there's a lot of bias in AI today. But could this conscious AI inherit or develop biases that reflect society's darker sides? Can it lead to unfair treatment of individuals or groups? And as we've talked in general about artificial intelligence, there needs to be a robust bias detection and mitigation strategy in place that affects artificial intelligence across the board, but particularly when we reach the threshold of AGI, it's very important. As everything we talked about in artificial intelligence, privacy and surveillance is a big concern. And the novel, once again, looks at advocacy for stringent regulations and transparency in AI development, AI deployment, how to safeguard individual privacy. And on the safety side, Dr. Sharif, some of it is the autonomy. And how do you balance the autonomy of a conscious AI with human control? How do you ensure that AI remains aligned with human values and objectives? And the story looks at the development of fail-safe mechanisms and ethical guidelines to maintain human oversight. But as we've seen, for example, with the laws of robotics, the first law of robotics was do no harm to humans. but we see today, almost every day in the battlefield, that robotics are attacking and causing harm to humans and killing humans. So even though that's explored in the novel, it's something that in execution is going to be really hard to do. There's security threats that the novel addresses. You know, how do you protect Dawn from cyber attacks, from hacking, from being manipulated in adverse ways? And the characters in the novel implement advanced cybersecurity models and create really a very resilient AI architecture and put in place tools to safeguard against threats. You know, there's a couple of others in the novel that I found very interesting is the unintended consequences. And the challenge is how do you predict and mitigate these unintended consequences, particularly as the AGI learns more and more and as it becomes more complex and more autonomous. So goes back to that lifelong learning, but also continuous monitoring, continuous feedback loops, and adaptive learning. And the last one is what are the places where an AGI can pose a threat to humans' existence, either intentionally or unintentionally. And this is in the story, it really emphasizes collaboration between the AI researchers, the folks looking at the ethics, at the privacy, and the policymakers to see how to create a comprehensive, really, way to understand the risk, to assess the risk, and how to manage it. And so, Dr. Sharif, I think that kind of answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, Dr. Tamanna, I want to know from you how does sentient now integrations, neuroscience, machine learning, and cognitive architecture to develop sentient AI? What is your view? Mr. Rob already answered this question, but if you have any different perspective from India.
Yeah, so I guess as far as neurosciences is concerned, I mean, it is something which is extremely, it's a science which deals with the basic nerves which individuals per people have. And the neuroscience, for example, I mean, it will deal with the lot of problems which humans face. For example, you have diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancers of different kinds which are controlled by the nerves, etc. And so AI can be of real help in these areas. And I mean, I particularly feel that in India we are using technologies. Our one of our premier research institutes, AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, is a research institute and the best in India right now. And it talks about it's like dealing with a lot of neuro related issues which are of prime concern to people right now. The mental illness, for example, that's again related to brains. And so I guess that has to be dealt with by AI. And as far as possible, the detection would be earlier, and so the cure would also be earlier. And we have to in the 2025, for example, this year, or probably coming 10 years from now, we should be able to use AI successfully to integrate neurosciences uh, with AI and robotics. And so this is what I would like to say. And and the ethical concern which Dr. David was talking about, I mean, I feel that and discrimination, which he was basically talking about, I feel, I mean, I guess AI is more like Rawlsian, John Rawls' theory of justice. I mean, it's like a veil of ignorance. Veil of ignorance by it means that it's somebody who doesn't know what the color or creed or gender of the person is, but only after lifting of the veil of ignorance would they be able to come to understand what really is happening. So I guess veil of ignorance is there. So AI would not know what is a gender, or I mean, that's another feminist who said about this thing about gender, that women needs to be included in the veil of ignorance, and caste, creed, race, etc. They are not aware of it, so discrimination is not possible. So let's see, within 10 years we'll be able to probably predict what really is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, my question for you about the ethical and safety challenges associated with Sentient Down, and how are they being addressed?
Well, I think David addressed some of this himself. I think so when you're talking about ethical and safety challenges, compare with regard to a sentient AI, the recognize we don't have one yet. So when we're talking about dealing with the ethical and safety challenges of something that doesn't yet exist, well, let's just say we're dealing with it in theory. Certainly, there've been a lot of discussions with regards to AI and ethics, and a lot of variance between the different providers. IBM is solidly on ethical constructs. Feels very strongly that AI needs to have an ethical core. Though the underlying difficulty is who's the one that sets that ethical concept. The one person's idea of ethics, with ethical behavior, and another person's idea of ethical behavior may be very different. And so there is this underlying concept that ethics needs to be good. By the way, OpenAI is all over the map with regard to ethics, and to a large extent has disbanded a lot of the underlying efforts that were tied to that in favor of speed. And I would say a lot of the AI development efforts are that way. It's a matter of how fast can you get something to market. And it was only DeepSeek that was really looking at a construct that assured the outcomes of what his AI was putting forward. The other AIs, for the most part, don't have that control structure, and thus we've had issues with regard to hallucinations, erroneous answers, and flat out fabrication. I think we're having a great deal of difficulty dealing with the underlying ethics of the existing AIs. And when we talk about safety challenges, well, if you've seen how many autonomous vehicle crashes we've had with Tesla cars, you might argue that perhaps the safety concerns have been sufficient to handle the needs of our current generation of AIs, let alone talking about ones that are sentient. So I think that while there are a lot of discussions surrounding both topics, with ethics having a very varied approach, depending on the company and the research group that's working on it, and then safety being secondary to putting something in market, I would argue that while we've got a lot of discussions surrounding these topics, in terms of implementing those concepts, it's been very varied, and it really hasn't been as high a priority as it's needed to be. And if we don't fix this problem before we get to AGI and have something like a sentient AI that's doing whatever it wants, we're going to have some serious problems depending on what the authority of that AI is and what its capabilities are.
Thank you. Mr. Nadim, can you hear me?
Yes, brother, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, can you open your camera?
I'm in car, so this is not a comfortable place for me. Though you are connected to me, of course we have to contribute something. If you
Okay,
have
thank you.
give me a chance.
What you want to discuss about Sentient Down, and what about Bangladesh markets? You are entrepreneurs in education industries from Bangladesh. So what about this sentient issues, AI issues in Bangladesh?
Thank you so much, very fastly, for give me a chance. Here present, very reputed and technology industry leader David Smith and Rep Andrels. I'm a startup founder from Bangladesh. Here have lots of problems, but our opportunity is big, but our uh, option is very limited. So that's why we trying hard and soul in education sector. But our education sector here have lots of students, but they have no enough opportunity, enough platform to study in a digital platform. But we are trying hard and soul.
Okay. What your idea about sentient down? We are discussing about sentient down. You want to share some of your view about today's topic?
Um, we are actually working is academic, which class is class 6 to intermediate, but here have lots of problems. Our students mostly live in a underprivileged. We are working for them, but here have some issues, uh, which is academic, and their education system have lots of problem. We identify some of them. Guidebooks, which name is guidebook and test paper. Actually, this is academic supplement, but we are working here, and we just trying to gaming based educational platform.
Okay, okay, understand. Dr. Tamanna, do you want to share anything about education's industries in India? Anything you want to share?
You're
I
muted.
cannot hear you.
Hello.
No, we can't hear you.
Okay. In that situations,
Can you hear me?
We
yeah,
can now.
now yes.
Yeah. So education in India, I guess now we have a separate technology ministry in India. So which is working in collaboration with human resource ministry, which is dealing with the education of the children. And so I guess right now in India there is too much of stress on AI education, which should start as early as kindergartens, for example. And I guess that would lead to a lot of interesting issues. And as far as justice is concerned, I guess in the legal system already AI is there, and the courts, etc., they are initiating processes whereby cases can be decided easily, earlier, and in a faster way. And I guess that's the whole thing. So I guess justice in the police stations, etc., these things are being done. So I guess for example, if justice were to be looked at from the perspective of a woman, or somebody who's from a lower caste, for example, the the problem is that most of them would lack money, because women after marriage, they generally stop working, at least in India. Very few, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to stereotype. There are people, women, in my circle who are working, etc. That's not the whole issue, but many of them leave because it adversely affects their health. Otherwise, if they work home as well as have a small child or something. But so I guess that has to be worked on, if justice is to be ensured to women as well as people from lower castes. For example, your helps, etc., who are there, but they are not much aware. So I guess India needs to focus on providing AI education to its the lowest of the lowest denominations. So only then the justice would truly be served. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Um, okay, Mr. David Smith, my question for you, because both of them from Bangladesh and India, they discuss about education. So, how could sentient down impact industries such as healthcare, finance, and education through intelligence automation? Uh, Mr. David, can you unmute yourself?
Sorry. The book explores a lot of those areas and how they get through there. And we're seeing the impact of already the type of AI tools that we have today, which are not AGI in those areas. In healthcare, we're seeing a lot of it, education, tremendous in others. But, some of the places, particularly as we look at how it can be used through intelligent automation, and particularly the self-learning automation we see with AGI. In healthcare, you're going to see more and more personalized medicine because a conscious AI can analyze vast amounts of patient data uh, and really look at the wide range of options that it in a very fast area that's hard to do with that. So it can help us lead to targeted. And being married to a healthcare professional in this area, I know when she has challenging patients, the amount of going through different options and finding, in some of the instances lately, the needle in the haystack are particularly hard to do. And this is a place where a AGI approach can be very beneficial in healthcare in helping go through those options. And we're seeing that already with some what has been done before. Predictive diagnostics. Again, we're seeing that with today's AI tools, but it should improve as we look at more of an AGI approach. Sentient AI can really help with the precision of robotic surgery and can either assist surgeons in performing these complex procedures or combined with advanced robotics, the AGI could do them themselves. It can help provide more and more touches to the healthcare system. In finance, the same thing we're seeing with AI today. Sentient AI can help with fraud detection and prevention, and hopefully help us with interactions with the different financial industries. It can automate trading. Again, we're seeing this with today's AI, but with this advanced AGI, it should get better, faster, and more data that can be processed, more trends, particularly outside of just the pure financial data, looking at world events and other trends. An AGI should help with that, things like risk management. Education, it's to me difficult to take AI today, the current glide scope we have with AI today, and continue to apply it at an AGI level because we're doing so much of it already. We're seeing AI in adaptive learning, but an AGI can really, again, take that to the next level. It can take it to the next level with tutoring. It can help with administration, curriculum development, and so many more of the various elements that go into the healthcare, the education, the finance, into governance, into many parts of our lives. I almost want to see if when true AGI hits, for example, in academia, how will that impact research? I was reading today a medical review of one of the newest OpenAI deep research AI that's being used. This one research doctor put in his latest findings that they're struggling with, and deep AI research came up with insights that none of the scientists and doctors on his team could. And that's with the AI we have today. I cannot wait to see what an AGI can do in the future, Dr. Sharif.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, what you want to discuss uh, about this impact industries such as healthcare, finance, and education through intelligent automation?
Yeah. So really, what we're talking about with regard to Sentient Dawn is a construct where the AI is indistinguishable from a human, and I think it's probably empathy that we're talking about introducing to the entire process. So when you're talking about introducing it into healthcare, finance, and education, it's the underlying concept that things are not binary. That when you use empathy, then your approach to an underlying problem, particularly a problem that having to do with humans, might be very different. And in each of those industries, they're connected to humans: healthcare, human health; finance, human financial health; and education, human mental health. And so with a sentient AI, one that had empathy, then you would have a situation where, rather in an educational construct, for instance, in a classroom, where the AI would at least appear to care about each one of the students and be concerned about the underlying behavioral aspects of the student, and then alter the programming, the educational process to address those unique aspects of the student. So if the student was having problems at home, if the student was having problems studying, if the student was having social interaction problems, which isn't uncommon in classrooms, the robot would then, the AI would then be able to determine that was a problem and change its own behavior and its approach to address the underlying problem and move the student forward. In the case of finance, taking into account the abstracts of the individual, not just the hard numbers, in terms of determining a financial path forward for the individual, perhaps providing a little more flexibility in granting loans, and depending on a potential that the numbers alone wouldn't show, that kind of thing. And of course, for healthcare, making the patient comfortable with the procedure, both prior to the procedure and then after the procedure, and then alter the approach depending on not only the physical aspects of the patient, but the mental aspects of the patient as well. So becoming much more like you would think your ideal doctor, your ideal banker, and your ideal teacher would be, and allowing for, because AIs can be scaled, allowing for a much more personalized and focused experience than you typically even get with a human doctor, educator, or banker, who often has to spread themselves so thinly that they can't really focus on any individual client or student as deeply as they would like. So this would be a case where you're scaling empathy, you're scaling up a service that would be able to better interact with humans and be able to make decisions that were much more beneficial than otherwise would be the case.
Thank you. Mr. Nadim, do you have any closing remarks for today's session?
Many special thanks for joining me here. I have no preparation for this meeting, but though you are give me a chance, I'm just joining, and I'm feel proud to being here. This is my experience.
Thank you, Mr. Nadim. So see you in the next episode.
Sure. I will more study about AI and education sector, how to be contribute me and our country and total startup journey.
Thank you. Mr. David Smith, what role does decentralized AI and collective intelligence play in the evolution of sentient DAO? What's your view?
Well, collective intelligence, or again, you've heard me use the term group intelligence many times. It has a key part of learning, be it a machine-based learning, be it human-based learning. So it should have a very critical role in it and a pivotal role in the development of where AGI is going to occur. So if you begin to look at it, there is decentralized networks used throughout the novel where multiple AI nodes collaborate and share information without relying on a central authority. Um, you're seeing this today in mesh networks and other things like that. One of the products that my company has developed are extremely advanced AI meshed mini data centers, where this concept that is used in this is being applied today, but it's one that we have to begin to continue to grow as the world changes, particularly with enhanced privacy, data governance, and things. And a conscious being, a dawn in the AGI, has to actually take into account, if we extrapolate from today to the future, these trends in data governance. And what happens if an AGI moves our data from uh, Asia to EU, where GDPR is, to the United States, to others? And does an AGI conscious being have to meet the same data privacy rules? Does it have to meet the same data governance rules? And the role of really distributed networks in that one might be one of the tools that can be used there. Um, Also, these distributed networks in a mesh network like we've talked about, it might help by decentralizing the individual's data, where it can be analyzed locally, contained locally, uh, and used in that way. And this whole decentralized network approach makes it more resilient to attacks. And that is one of the things we're seeing today as we look at even classic IT and going forward. But the collective intelligence, particularly as you begin to get more and more dawns, more and more AGIs put in place, you're going to see more of the concept of swarm intelligence. And swarm intelligence is like the collective behavior social insects like ants or bees, where they come together to work. And so this type of swarm intelligence can have these multiple AGIs working together to solve very complex problems. And each of the AGI contributes to the overall solution. And this is like today with our collaborative, our group problem solving, in particular as we look at global challenges such as climate change, healthcare, education. And the novel depicts in a very interesting way. It combines and contrasts an AGI to the crowdsourcing we do today. And it talks about how an AI system can tap into the wisdom of a diverse group of people, very different insights. Uh, and and I use the term people because that's what crowdsourcing is today. But the book says that at that point, the AGI is just like a human being, and you'll begin to see it. And the last part is you see Dawn. She emerges from the decentralized network of AI nodes, and this allows Dawn to develop her own self-awareness, to develop her own cognitive abilities. Uh, this is kind of like a movie I've always enjoyed called Al Machina, which was how do AGI and robotics pass the Turing test. And this book actually says we've well gone beyond the Turing test as we look at it. And the book, as we look at it, really portrays a future where decentralized AI this collaborative intelligence, this group intelligence enable global collaboration. Dr. Sharif, I hate to say this, but you hear me always talk about how most of our complex problems are global problems, and we have to collaborate on a global area to do it. And this segment, Dawn, really highlights that very distinctly. And the story really says we need to have an adaptive ecosystem where the AI systems continuously evolve, how humans continuously evolve with their interactions with the AGI, how the AGI agents, the AI agents, work with other AGI agents to adapt and learn in advance. And this is really where we see the group intelligence we often talk about, be it human, be it machine, be it human-machine interaction, this collaboration, this continuous learning, this ability to synthesize information is going to be so important as the future of AGI enhances. And the book does a pretty good job of discussing it.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, what's your view about the role does decentralized AI and collective intelligence play in the evolution of sentient down, and what's your closing remarks for today?
Sure. Well, I think with regard to AI, the underlying concept of centralized or decentralized AI is almost pointless. Due to scaling, we can centralize AI and distribute its capabilities fairly broadly. The reason that you decentralize it is to reduce network traffic between the hub service, the data center, and the endpoints, so that you don't have traffic bottlenecks. You're doing a lot of processing at remote nodes, but really, in terms of a concept, it's whether you're centralized or decentralized, it really has to do with the entire performance envelope that you're trying to present and how you're optimizing against that particular construct. And so if you had an area that had significant networking capacity, then it actually makes more sense to leave the AI centralized. And if you have insufficient network capacity, then it makes sense to decentralize it as much as possible so you're not bottlenecking on the network. And that's pretty much it. Both are going to be using remote sensors to view the world. Both are going to be interacting with the physical world much the same way. It really has nothing to do with it. Where you get into the idea of a heavily centralized AI, where you have that massive intelligence that can be hardened, can be protected, and can be parceled out per se as a service, you do have a potential for much lower cost in terms of the overall upkeep and maintenance and security of the plant. As soon as you decentralize everything, each one of those remote nodes needs to be secured to the same level as the central host, and that makes it relatively expensive. Also, those remote nodes need to be individually hardened so they don't fail. And so that, because if you get failures of the remote nodes, the remote nodes are what are providing the intelligence to the central nodes so that it or they can make informed decisions. And so if you get breakdowns in the remote nodes, then that intelligence, that ability to deal with the world in which it is, degrades. And much the same way as even if it was highly centralized, if you have a degradation of the sensors, the AI is going to be less and less performant. So I'm not sure really whether the centralizing or decentralizing has any bearing on the sentience of a construct. It really has to do with how you're optimizing the overall system and addressing some of the problems with the overall architecture and of the enterprise. So closing remarks, that when we're moving towards the concept of truly sentient AIs, AIs that can be as capable as humans. And as I mentioned earlier, our sentience is in question, with a significant number of people arguing that it's an illusion to begin with. The idea that you could actually have a degree of sentience in place, beginning with the appearance of sentience and scaling all the way up to super sentience, whatever the heck that is. the humans would land somewhere on that particular graph, and it's certainly possible that robots could exceed, since we're creating them, and we have the ability to create things more capable than we are, certainly more capable than we are physically. And I would argue we've already demonstrated we can create things that are more capable than us mentally, granted in very focused areas like mathematics. But in the end, if at some particular point we need to be able to measure and determine whether we really want sentient AIs, whether we want the moral requirement of having to care for them, and to treat them like equals. We have a hard enough time treating other humans like equals. I've certainly had periods of slavery, abuse, and we're watching across the world large-scale events that would indicate that we're not really holding our peer humans in the greatest regard. We introduce robots with those same kinds of difficulties, which is certainly likely because we're the ones that are training the AIs. It's very likely the AIs will have biases that we built into them because the biases we have ourselves and we don't see. And so the end result is we get something that's far more capable, far more performant, but just as flawed as we are, or even more flawed than we are, depending on how we do it. And we could have some very serious problems. So I do think before we get too aggressive about creating sentient AIs, we get our own house in order and make sure that our own behavior is in line with the way we want it to be, so we don't, in fact, create a bunch of artificial intelligences who do confirm that humanity may be the problem to be solved. And much like the Terminator movie, the solution is to get rid of us. And so in the end, I think this is a very dangerous path to go down, primarily because we don't understand it. We don't understand the meaning of sentience. And the end result is it's very likely, since we don't understand what we're trying to create, like anything else, if you don't know where the goal is, your chances of reaching it are slim or none. And we're much more likely to call whatever we achieve the goal that we were searching for because we haven't defined it. And that's going to be, I think, problematic. We already are having severe problems with quality on generative AI. We move to AGI on sentience, and we don't fix that quality problem, we're going to have quality issues at scale. And certainly we're talking about putting these systems in as air traffic controllers, certainly defense and weapon systems and the rest. And that could end very badly if we don't get don't wrap our arms around this technology and better assure the outcome that we want, better understand the outcome we want, and then that would therefore make us capable of assuring that particular outcome. Right now, we don't really understand the outcome we want, and the end result is we're likely not going to get it. That's it for me.
Thank you. Dr. Tamanna, what's your closing remarks for today?
Yeah, so I guess sentient means rational and sane. And that's what Rousseau used the word, that all human beings are sentient beings. And he spoke about general will. So I guess right now what we really need is a general will to, as Rob was also saying, I completely agree that, there should be, people should understand that, that right kind of solution to problems require people to come together, and discrimination can only be solved if we as human beings understand and not transmute our own deficiencies into AI. So I guess that's obviously very important, and I guess we are going to make machines. Actually, science is supposed to be bias free. It is supposed to be its implementation might be different, but because probably science is being taught to if we look at many of our girls who do not from some lower background or something, classes, etc., who are not being taught in sciences, so I guess that is there. And till the time we do not understand that a science which is free of bias is evolved, we would be facing problems of all kinds. And AI has to be bias free, and no discrimination. Plus, it has to have uh, the ability to deal with the diseases, etc. And space is another area of venture which would be extremely important for us to look at. The seas, for example, the natural resources which we kind of gain out of them. So yeah, and pharmaceutical industries are another area which AI can. And actually, what I would like to say is that the prices of these technologies should be taken care of, because developing world would find it very difficult to compete otherwise. So I mean, A, they are developing world. B, they have people from lower classes who would not be able to access it. So even in medicine, for example, they would not be able to carry out tests, etc., because they would not have the money to approach a test which is of higher rate, or which is AI based. So I guess that's the whole thing. And I guess AI is going to be in every sphere. In every sphere, just pick up the stone and you'll see that AI is dominating in the sphere. So but there are other fields where probably AI would require direction from human beings. And that is the whole thing. And once human beings are uh, it has to be under their control. It should not become it should not be that the robots are dominating us. So that's another thing. But I guess the AI conference which took place, they shelved this problem, and they said that this is not going to happen. And so it's a big debate, and we should continue with the debate as per your channel. And we should come up with solutions to solution to problems of AI. And how people, there can be an integrated society whereby developing and developed world, north south gap could be uh, taken care of, as well as gender, caste, class, creed, race, etc. Everybody should be able to benefit from this particular issue. So I guess, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This is an excellent discussion. So I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible. Thank you, uh, Mr. David Smith. Thank you, Mr. Rob, and thank you, Dr. Tamanna, and all of our audience, those who continuously support World Talent Economic Forum. Thank you. Bye bye, and take care.